Thank you. And okay, folks, we have José Paolo Donnati-Filho, who is the Geology and Exploration Manager for Lipari Diamonds. He has over 16 years of diamond exploration industry experience, and he's going to talk to us this morning or this afternoon on an overview of the Brazilian diamond sector. As you've noted, Ken Johnson is stuck somewhere between here and there, and so Paolo has volunteered to give us this presentation. Paolo, we look forward to your presentation, so off you go.
Okay, thanks, Tanya. Thanks, John. It's a pleasure for me to present a little bit about Brazilian diamond and the mine that we are developing here in Brazil. So, okay, let's go. I hope you, and hi everyone that is interested in Brazilian diamonds, and I hope everyone enjoy. Okay. So just talking about the structure of the presentation, just a quick view. I will talk about the Brazilian diamond, the Brazilian diamonds, an overview of Braúna kimberlite mine, geological settings of Brazilian kimberlites, and a brief introduction about the Braúna kimberlite field, which is a little bit more scientific. So let's start with Brazilian diamonds. Okay, so the history of diamonds in Brazil starts on 1714, where was the first time we find a diamond in a gold garimpo. Garimpo is a artisanal digging, manual digging along the Jequitinhonha River and in the state of Minas Gerais. So in 1721, a large scale starts in the Tejuco village, which is now the city of Diamantina in Minas Gerais as well, along the Jequitinhonha River. And in 1739, the Portuguese crown took the control of the diamond fields, exporting our goods from Brazil to Portugal, and had a restricted entrance to the areas, 20% taxes on family productions. Also, the slaves that worked in the garimpos could win their freedom by finding a diamond weighing an octavo, 7.5 carats. So in 1763, the diamond rush forced the capital from Brazil to move to Salvador, to Rio de Janeiro. And this caused the development of new ways to transport the production with the Estrada Real, the Real Road between Diamantina and Rio de Janeiro. So this makes the transportation easy for the exportation, for the Portuguese crown. So Brazil was the main source of diamonds for almost 150 years prior the discovery of the diamonds in South Africa. So Brazil has a long history of production. So here's a diagram illustrating what I highlighted. Brazil was the world's largest diamond producer to 1867. So we had a peak of production as well that coincided with the diamond rushes, with new alluvial and diamond discoveries in Minas Gerais in the end of the 19th century. And also another peak here during 2000, 2006, more or less, with now with companies, the small companies that came to Brazil and developed alluvial diamond mines, small alluvial diamond mines, basically in Minas Gerais, Mato Grosso, and Bahia. And then we had the crisis, the global crisis in 2009, where almost all operations was shut down. And then only back in 2016, with the start of Brauna diamond mine, we have grown the production again, yeah, and still. Yeah. So prior 2016, all of Brazil's historical diamond production has come from alluvial deposits. So we developed the first diamond mine in primary source in the history of Brazil. So it's estimated 20 million carats produced over a period of 300 years. Yeah? So the potential of Brazil is huge. Yeah? We have 1,365 kimberlites discovered since 1966. Basically, 90% was De Beers findings. And the majority of the alluvial diamond production is close to the kimberlite fields. Yeah? That means that the source is close to the alluvials in Brazil. So the exploration that was carried out along 30 years, 40 years, demonstrated that more or less 100 kimberlites are diamond bearing by micro and macro diamond analysis, and small volume processed. In Brazil, 90% of the kimberlites are off craton and do not confirm the Clifford rule. However, there are off craton kimberlites that are significantly diamond bearing. Example, Canastra kimberlite is a kimberlite that is seated in the southwest of San Francisco Craton. And possibly some diamondiferous kimberlite are associated with Archean cratons. And also, craton margins are not well defined in some cases. So this information of 19% of kimberlite situated off craton can be changed. This is due to the lack of information, scientific information, geophysics, etc. And also weathering that makes the life a little bit difficult for mapping and sampling fresh rocks. So historical production, as I said, came from alluvial deposits, and predominantly by garimpeiros, artisanal diggings. So those are some examples of the historical diamonds that were found in Brazil. We have big diamonds, more or less 700 carats. Presidente Vargas. The majority of these big diamonds were found here in Minas Gerais. And if you look at the previous slide, the majority of the kimberlites, 80% of the kimberlites in Brazil, more or less 85%, is located on this area here, between Minas Gerais and Minas Gerais state. So, okay, Brazil has several occurrences of kimberlites with dimensions very similar to Brauna 3, as an example, and a success case of example, Brauna 3. And by experience, our experience has shown that Brazil's potential can be even greater if we take into account some premises, in our view. Kimberlites classified as off-craton may be economically and erroneous classified as off-craton. So we can have more potential on this border kimberlite, border craton kimberlites. Also, the volume for testing matters. Large volume sampling is extremely important to evaluate relatively small kimberlite bodies. This happened with Brauna 3, and now it's we are re-evaluating a marginal pipe that occurs within Brauna 3. The mine is located in the Brauna 3 south lobe. We are re-evaluating the north lobe, which is smaller. And as an example, here, if you see this table here, back in 2007, we did test the north lobe using a mini bulk sample plant, 1 ton per hour DMS. With our test was 9 tons of kimberlite, saprolite, okay, saprolite, and we recovered 5.7 carats per 100 ton. In 2010, 12, and 13, we did another bulk sampling using a bigger plant, which was 10 tons per hour. And we jumped to 1 ton per hour to 10 tons per hour. We did treat almost 2,000 tons of kimberlite, saprolite again, and we recovered more or less the same result, 5.6 carats per 100 ton. So after that, in 2018 and 20, we did use our industrial plant, which is 100 ton per hour. We did process 21 kilotons of fresh kimberlite, and the result was 17.5 carats per 100 ton. So this year, we did another big test, and we processed almost 70 kilotons of fresh kimberlite, and we recovered 32 carats per 100 ton. We now are currently averaging 35. So it's a big jump. Same thing happened to Brauna 3 south lobe. At the beginning, we had 18 carats per 100 ton, and then we jumped to another type of processing. We did use a bulk sample plant, and we got 25 CPHT. So the volume matters for small bodies. Okay, and also microdiamond analysis do not necessarily reflect the economics of the kimberlite. This happened with Brauna 3 as an example, where we don't have the same pattern of microdiamond counting as the pattern for South African curves. The distribution, the size distribution was not, let's say, satisfactory compared with the pattern for South African kimberlites. But we made it. We did insist on the treatment, big volume, and then we proved that the Brauna 3 was economic. So I will talk a little bit about Brauna mine. Just an introduction. So Brauna mine is the first diamond mine in South America, developed in a primary source, in kimberlite. The mine is located in the countryside of Bahia State, in the interior of Bahia State. It's very close to the capital, to the Salvador, the Bahia State capital, Salvador. Brauna was discovered in 1993 by De Beers, basically by mineral indicators. They did run some geophysics, but the first approach with airborne survey and very regional geophysics survey, the results was not so good. So basically, because of in the case of Brauna field, Brauna is not that magnetic. Yeah, it was basically discovered by mineral indicator. So Brauna mine started in July 2016 with a capital cost of $65 million. And as December 2021, the mine has produced 900,000 carats of diamonds, almost 1 million carats of diamond, with a gross sale revenue at $174 million, averaging $188 per carat. This is our current average price for our diamonds. So this is the location of Brauna mine, just to locate you guys. Brauna mine is located in the northeast Brazil, northeast Bahia state, and 350 kilometers far from Salvador, the capital of Bahia. Brauna field is composed by 23 kimberlite, being 3 pipes and 20 dike-like bodies. I will talk a little bit more about Brauna field in the end of this presentation. This is our reserve and resource statement. After process 4.5 million tons of kimberlite, we still having a total proven plus probable reserves of 2.6 million tons, and a total inferred resource of 3.3 million tons. We are working in the North Lobe right now, and also in the extending of the mine life by underground or vertical mine operation design. So Brauna mine produce 12 kilotons a day, being 2.5 kilotons of kimberlite. We have currently, for our mining fleet, 3 excavators, 3 loaders, 10 ore trucks for 8x4 trucks, 3 bulldozers, 2 motor graders, and 4 service trucks. The open pit is currently at 250 meters at the South Lobe, which is our ultimate pit design. So we are jumping to the extending of the mine life. And also our plant, talking about the plant, we process 2.5 kilotons a day of fresh kimberlite, 24/7. We also have a XRT circuit to recover the large diamonds. And we work with 150 tons per hour DMS circuit as well. We also have designed a centrifuge to recover the water from the circuit. And we recovered 95% of the water. The region there is a very dry region, so the water, the problem was solved with the centrifuge. And also we excluded the tailings pond. And so this is another good side of using centrifuge in the process. We have an in-house plant maintenance for plant and also the fleet, mine fleet. Our production forecast with this extension, the mine life is about 130,000 carats per year. Yeah. These are some examples of our diamonds. In terms of size, in general, our productions, our main size stays in between 0.5 to 2.5 carats. But we also have a population of special diamonds plus 10.8 carats, more or less 4%. In between this size classification, we have very good, high quality diamonds. Those at the right are examples of two very good diamonds that we recovered, 51 carats and 95 carats. So this is the vertical pit design that SRK Consulting Canada is working for us. We are planning to start the extension of the mine life for the South Lobe in the third quarter of 2023. This technique was applied in Coido and also in the Merlin Kimberlite in Australia. And we are currently completing the engineering design for this, the engineering design and study for this vertical mine. We are evaluating two types of mine extension, the vertical mine and in a sub-level retreat underground mine, where we will be able to also mine the North Lobe. So SRK is also studying the possibility to make this feasible for us. And the V mine and the underground mine development has been showing like positive economic results for us. We need to decide now which design to follow. Also, we are working the extension of the exploration in our permits. We have 23 kimberlite occurrence, and we already evaluated the Brauna 7 pipe and Brauna 821 dike. And we have a pit design already, and we are expect to commence a test, a trial mine test for Brauna 7 at the end of 2022, end of this year, to include this reserve into our mine life. And it's very close. Brauna 7 is only 1 kilometer far from the plant, and Brauna 821 is more or less 4.5 kilometers far from the plant as well. And this is the idea, to finish this evaluation and include the kimberlite mass into the plant. So a little bit more about the geological setting of Brazil kimberlite, some scientific informations and numbers. Brazil has 1,364 kimberlites. As I said, majority are located in Minas Gerais state. I don't know if you guys can see my arrow here, but here's the Minas Gerais state. And it's located in off-craton conditions. né? Braúna Fields here in the northeast Brazil, northeast of São Francisco Creighton. In terms of area, in terms of ages, né? The majority of Brazilian kimberlites are Mesozoic, as everywhere in the world, né? The oldest kimberlite is 1.1 billion years, is the Salvador one, and the youngest is 69.7 million years, Santa Fe one, the small dike. And Braúna kimberlite is 642 million years. So this is one of the oldest Brazilian kimberlites. And in terms of area, the Brazilian kimberlites are very aged 6.6 hectares. In the largest one, 187 hectares, Monte Carmelo kimberlite. And the smallest kimberlite is 0.01 hectares. So they are very, very small dikes. And Braúna 3 kimberlite is 2 hectares. Here's a exercise that I did a long time ago, comparing the public domain information of mapped kimberlites, just to show the in terms of comparison, the size of the kimberlites in the world, at least the published ones. So in yellow, we have the Brazilian kimberlites. Braúna is here in the top, Braúna 3, 2 hectares. And the other mapped kimberlites are more or less equal in size, except the Regis and Monte Carmelo kimberlite. We can see the difference between the kimberlites and the other kimberlites in the world compared with the Fort Lacorne kimberlite, the Orion and the Star kimberlites. They are really, really huge. This is just a curiosity. So I will talk about the Braúna field, a little bit more scientific information. The Braúna field intrudes a new Proterozoic, Paleoproterozoic greenstone belt in the northeast Brazil. So here's the geological configuration of the São Francisco Creighton. These numbers here, 1, 2, and 3, they are Archean blocks. Braúna is located in Serrinha block here, in the number 3. This is the greenstone belt of Rio Itapicuru. Is a Paleoproterozoic, 2.2 billion years, Paleoproterozoic greenstone belt. And here's the Braúna kimberlite field. So Braúna field is a northwest, more or less N30W strike field. It's mainly composed by dikes that filled the fissures, the old fissures, reactivated during the New Proterozoic. And the disposal is more or less 17 kilometers from this Braúna 13 to Braúna 10. And the interesting thing here is the Braúna field is restricted to this batholite here. It's a Paleoproterozoic batholite, trondhjemite. And we don't find any kimberlite, at least we did so far, we did not find any other kimberlite in the outside of this batholite, in the greenstone, for example. So the field is restricted to the batholite, which is a huge batholite. In terms of wall rock geochemistry, the Braúna don't fit in the classical classification, South African classification of kimberlites and orangites and transitional kimberlites. It's in between, considering the ratios, the trace element ratios, important elements, thorium, niobium, lanthanum, for example. Those are the diagonals from Smith, 1983. Also, the stable isotopes don't fits in the classical classification. You see the strong negative epsilon neodymium for Brauna 3, the black squares here, and low strontium ratio as well. So it's in between the transition kimberlites and olivine lamproites. So it's a anomalous chemical composition, né, for Brauna. That doesn't fit. Brauna doesn't fit in the classical classification, but it's a kimberlite. In terms of lanthanum-niobio ratio, the Brauna shows a heterogeneous source of melt generation, yeah, between the lithospheric mantle and the asthenospheric mantle. This happens as well. The composition is very close to the phlogopite-bearing peridotite xenolites from North China craton. It's very interesting, and we see this pattern for the transitional kimberlites from South Africa and some of Minas Gerais and Goiás kimberlites from Brazil. It's very this shows that the mantle was very metasomatized prior the melting, etc. Brauna has 642 million years, Neoproterozoic. I did date using uranium lead in perovskite. I used TIMS, multi-grains, because of the uranium thorium ratio was so low that I cannot use like single grain, only multi-grains. And this put Brauna as one of the oldest Neoproterozoic kimberlites in the world. We have some Neoproterozoic with like older ages in Venezuela as well, Guaniamo 712, and Australia 800 million years, and some in the main craton in Africa, this Weisua, I don't know how to spell, but Weisua kimberlite, between 8 to 100 million years. So that time in the cryogenium was some researchers call the Earth like the theory of the snowball Earth that occurs between 720 to 630 million years, where the ice of the poles was almost touching the equator line. So after that, the active margins start to play again in 640, more or less, causing again the breakup of Rodinia that starts in 1.2, more or less, 1.1, 1.2 billion years. This breakup of the supercontinent of Rodinia caused the intrusion of kimberlites. Here I did plot some more or less the location of the kimberlites, and this close here is the West Africa Weisua kimberlite, Guaniamo, and Brauna kimberlites in the San Francisco Congo craton. Oops, sorry. So this reflects the breakup of Rodinia. Also, I did take some zircons out of the kimberlite and date the zircons, and this proves all these ages proves that for some reason the Brauna kimberlite did not cross the Archean basement, or the Archean basement was not available below the supracrustal rocks of the Rio Itapicuru greenstone belt. This is a cross section of the greenstone, where I did include the kimberlite. Kimberlite rise, the kimberlite progenitor magma was previous metasomatized and mixed with the lithosphere material, and then rised up, collected the diamonds. We have also eclogitic paragenesis with G3 garnets, G9 garnets, and also some yellow diamonds that indicates this shallow level incorporation of minerals and mantle rocks. With this rise, we had the xenolithic incorporation, basically related to the greenstone belt, the Tapicuru greenstone belt. Only Paleoproterozoic ages, and finally the eruption of the magma were restricted to the batholite, the Nordestina batholite. In terms of facies classification, in summary, we have two main facies. A coherent one, very magmatic looking kimberlite. It's a massive kimberlite, very competent, phlogopite rich, with some of preserved olivine cores, but in general they are totally replaced by serpentine or calcite, pseudomorphs in general. Altered clinopyroxene in the matrix as well. It's very rich, a perovskite rich kimberlite with sometimes coarse perovskite with ninja star shape like this one here. We also have, of course, the garnets now with califitic border, late stage calcite veins, and the olivine abundance varies from 30 to 50%. The garnets are in general rounded as usual for kimberlites, including the G10 garnets. And the other facies is the volcanoclastic one. It's massive as well, but sometimes shows like a very, very altered and heterogeneous ground mass. Also late stage calcite and serpentine veins. This rounded feature here is the magma class. We see some pseudo magma class, and sometimes very rare, but occurs melt-bearing pyroclast. The olivine abundance is a little bit lower because of the alteration and the metasomatism. It's about 30 to 35%. And perovskite is in general coarse, and also sometimes euhydral. And the two facies, the main two facies have also the crustal xenolith variation, being the coherent ones like less diluted or has less xenolith, crustal xenolith, and the volcanoclastic ones has more is more xenolith rich. Here is some examples. The CK, like with an absence of xenolith, and the CK with some xenolith, and VK with high presence of xenolith. So this is how the kimberlite looks like in the core boxes. But of course, we have much more variation. At the beginning, I did describe like 12 variation of facies variations, but we need to make the descriptions simple, because otherwise there's no way to model, to produce a geological model of such a like many facies. It's hard to model with like 12 facies in a small body, small kimberlite body. So this is how the kimberlite looks like. Like after all the drilling programs that we have along the mine life, we did produce this. We came up with this most updated geological model. We did drill 25 kilometers of diamond drill cores. The deep drill holes reached the kimberlite up to 506 meters below surface. And here we can see the three lobes, more or less, two lobes, and south lobe, north lobe, and a connecting lobe here, or a transition zone that we called central, Brauna 3 central, Brauna 3 south, central, and north lobes. So this lobe we are re-evaluating now, the north lobe. Yeah, and here's the physiological variation of the kimberlite illustrated in the 3D model, where we have this the VKs in blue, CKs in yellow, and the breccia facies in green, up to 15% of dilution, internal dilution. Dilution, I mean crustal xenolith content. And a connecting dike as well between the south and north lobe, small dike. And here's a picture of the how the dilution plays in the kimberlite. This is the south lobe. South lobe has less dilution and small fragments, and north lobe we have some big blocks and some in situ blocks. Also the evolution of buff was a little bit different. They are the same process, the same pulse, magmatic pulse, but in the north lobe, the magma encountered a more competent crust to break up than the south lobe, which was the, let's say, the main conduct of the magma, and have more, let's say, freedom to rise up to surface. Final thoughts. Just a compilation of the information I present to you guys. So talking about the exploration, the Brazilian diamonds, and the continued investment in exploration in Brazil, using the latest technology in sampling processing methods will certainly lead to a new diamond discoveries in Brazil. Brazil has a lot of potential, but we need companies with know-how and money to invest in Brazil. And also the country has an excellent potential for development of both primary and secondary diamond deposits. And of course, the potential can be realized by taking serious exploration with right and properly methods and plants using DNS and the right technology for diamond evaluation. Also, the Brauna, Brauna is the first diamond mine in South America, developed in a kimberlite deposit, and marked the beginning of Brazil growing diamond potential again, and show that Brazil has a potential that was, like, let's say, forgotten in the past. So we still have 135 kimberlites to explore in Brazil, and the majority are proximal to the alluvial diamond production. So this is equal an excellent potential to develop other mines. And the exploration and scientific study of the Brauna 3 kimberlite has led better understanding of the mantle under the South American Shield. Brauna 3 is one of the rarest Neopaterozoic diamond source that is being explored and mined in the world. Brauna kimberlites do not fit into the classic subdivision of the kimberlites and orangites, and was derived from the amanthosaurus that was strongly metasomatized back in the Neoproterozoic, and were formed in the enriched subcratonic mantle lithosphere. Yeah. And just to finish here, the thoughts, this different chemical composition and the tests and the microdiamonds and everything that we use to follow, we try to use to follow the patterns from examples in the world. Basically, mainly examples are from South Africa, but sometimes we need to think a little bit outside of this information to make the deposit feasible. This happened with Brauna, and can happen with other kimberlites in Brazil and in the world. Why not? So sometimes we need to forget a little bit the patterns and try to investigate kimberlite. Each kimberlite has a unique rock. Of course, the patterns help us a lot. We learned a lot with the patterns, but yeah, sometimes we need to try to consider each kimberlite as a unique deposit or target for future exploration and development. So that's it. Thanks, everyone. For more information, we have the LIPAR's website, and you guys can access, and my two main publications, if you want to investigate a little bit more about the scientific side of Brauna kimberlites. And that's it. Thank you. Obrigado.
Thanks, Paolo. Fantastic.
Thank you very much, Paolo, for taking the time to do this at very short notice. We do really appreciate it. Folks, are there any questions? Please just raise your hand or put it in the chat box. We still have a couple of minutes.
Yeah, just a quick one to get the process going, Tanya. Paolo, is anyone else exploring in Brazil at this point in time? I mean, you guys have done a great job developing the first mine. And is anyone else showing interest or other exploration going on in Brazil at this point in time?
No, John, only us.
Okay. Good. And fascinating that you're looking at developing this vertical crater mining method. That's going to be fascinating and potentially open up, other small kimberlites to be mined like that. Yeah.
Exactly. This open a possibility to mine kimberlites that was not be considered in the past as a potential because of the strip ratio.
Yeah.
And also dikes, which is complicated to mine.
Yeah.
Small dikes and small blows.
Yeah. Interesting. Brooke, you have your hand up, please.
Yes.
Hi, Brooke.
Yeah,
Hello.
Paolo, thank you for a great talk. And, there's so many alluvial diamonds that have been recovered in Brazil. And I think there's always been kind of two theories. One, the result of millions of years of concentration of extremely low-grade kimberlites, like so many have been found in Brazil, or a yet to be found major source or district. What's your preference of those two theories?
For example, in Bahia, in the Chapada Diamantina, Bahia, the source gone. The diamonds are related to Paleoproterozoic conglomerates. So there is an example, maybe it's an example, we don't know, of let's say a low-grade kimberlite that was being concentrated in these conglomerates. Okay, but for example, in Minas Gerais, we have the source of the diamonds very close to the kimberlites. The source of the diamonds very close to the kimberlites. Very close indeed. Sometimes it's on the top. The creeks are in the top of the kimberlites. So yeah, well, we need evaluation. But I think for these alluvials that are proximal to Mesozoic kimberlites, we have a very good potential.
For new Mesozoic kimberlites, it could be higher grade than the ones that have been found in the past.
Yes, and also was because the biggest diamond in Brazil, the biggest diamond in Brazil, in the majority of the production came from these areas. Yeah.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Any other questions, particularly from the students? This is your opportunity to speak with somebody who's been working in the field there.
And Paolo, maybe just while we're waiting for more questions, comment. I mean, one of your big challenges in Brazil, obviously, is the weathering profile. And you talked about saprolite. I mean, you know, in my experience, and I had some great experiences in Brazil with De Beers geologists, I mean, the weathering profile is very challenging.
Yes. Yeah, the problem is the contamination of the soil. How to understand the transition between the soil and the saprolite and saprolite to a fresh rock. It's a challenge because the weather here is so huge and so strong that sometimes we, in Brazil, for example, in Brauna, at Brauna, the saprolitic soil, the saprolite from the granodiorite and the kimberlite, when very altered, we cannot separate, we cannot identify. It's the same, that has the same color. Of course, in the lab we can identify, but in the field is very complicated, very complicated. Separate both saprolites, the granodiorite and the top saprolite, granodiorite and kimberlite. So this is complicated, and also that test we did with the North Lobe showed that it's much better to test the fresh rock, of course. And we don't have any losses, and we can see what we are doing. We can calculate, we can quantify the internal dilution, what's happening, the contacts. It's another word. But of course, the easiest way is to excavate the surface, the saprolite. And it's also the first approach and the first step. Try to understand the saprolite first, and it's cheaper as well. Mm-hmm. But sometimes we can, like the drill and kill, we can book sampling and kill the project as well. This is the problem. Sometimes we drill and kill, and sometimes we process like surface material and kill as well the project.
We've got two questions on the chat, Paolo. The first one is there possibly another diamond rush in Brazil on the cards?
Where is the question?
It's in the chat box by Kelebe Hele. Are we possibly looking at another diamond rush in Brazil?
Yeah. This will depend on the demand. Also, technology and people interested in looking for diamond in Brazil. I think the future will be evaluate the kimberlites more than alluvials, because kimberlites lead more mine life than alluvials, in my view. Depend. I think the hotspot will be in Minas Gerais. There are 1,000 kimberlites there, diamonds, lots of garimpeiros still there, working, recovering diamonds. as soon as we start a mine there, I think people will look differently to Brazil, as we are already looking after we start the mine in Bahia. Yeah, maybe.
Yeah, it needs bucks and dollars and, you know, committed people like yourselves. And then maybe just comment, there's a question about the vertical crater mining. I mean, I guess, and it's a valid question. I mean, it's a fairly recent approach. It's used in some places. I mean, with your saprolite degree of weathering, you know, I mean, presumably you have the benefit there of you're already down in the very fresh solid rock. So your sidewalls are going to stand up from a safety point of view.
At the vertical mine, we started at the bottom of the pit. We are currently at 260 meters below surface. So we are the plan is to go down more 100 meters and maybe extend to 150 meters. The structural control, now we are advancing in a geotechnical drilling program and also hydrogeology studies, because for sure the water will be a point to consider. The safety side of the stabilization of the vertical pit is a challenge, because the other vertical mines for example, in Coido was starting from the surface, and now we are planning to start from the bottom of the pit. So it's a little bit different condition. So we need to have a very good structural control and also hydrogeology control. Yes, we need to have a intense drainage systems, because we are going to go down by hoists. We are going to position a hoist in the bottom, or in the border, and go down by a hoisting process, lifting. We need to have a very good control, a safety hoist to keep people safe from any flooding process, or we don't know. We're studying this engineering points as well. But yeah, for sure the water will be a problem for us and needs to be considered. And SRK is already working in the engineering plan for that, the hydro plan.
John,
But everything is possible.
Yeah.
Yes, indeed.
Yeah.
John has one last question before we need to move on. The process, what were the processes that you followed to conduct exploration within the forest environments? I think that's your question, Sean.
The forest environments. Here in Brazil, we have
the Amazon.
like in Amazon. Yeah, if we are in a permanent protection reserve, for example, we cannot explore. Yeah.
Okay.
The government don't give us the exploration permit, but where we can apply for, it's okay. We need to follow all the steps for environmental license and work and make this happen.
And are you still using mostly indicator minerals, or do you back that up with geophysics as well?
Oh, okay. So in general, mineral indicators. Because of the size of the kimberlites, 6.6 hectares is the average. But we have, in the case of Brauna, Brauna is a small pipe and low. If we have a problem with, if the kimberlite is low magnetic, doesn't appear in depend on the contrast of the host rock. Okay, but in Brazil, we have some of these kimberlites are low magnetic. So the response is so low that we cannot identify by drone or airborne surveys. And then we need to jump to the ground mag, which is a little bit expensive. So in general, we start with mineral indicators. And also when we have, like in the forest, when we have a thick soil cover, this makes the life a little bit difficult to use geophysics, because of the penetration of the airborne, for example, and drone. But the mineral indicator is still one of the best tools.
Paolo, thank you ever so much for your time and your expertise here this morning, this afternoon.